All right. What's up, everyone? How you doing today? I am here with Mia. Mia and I have been vibing already. Like, I don't even know what's going on. Mia, how are you doing today?
I am doing great. I'm glad you said let's start recording because I feel like we could have just talked for like the whole time before recording this. So might as well have people listen to the conversation,
Well,
you
we were
know?
already like going for like 10 or 15 minutes, and I was like, shit, we
Yeah.
need to get started already. Like, all right. So, Mia, what's your last name? Ben? Is that how you pronounce Mia Ben?
My full last name is Ben Anna. Growing
Ben.
up, my friends just called me Banana, which I'm super cool with.
Okay.
But in Arabic, it's pronounced Banana. No
Banana.
pressure to try to pronounce that.
I mean, I want to try to learn at least a little bit. So full name is Mia Benena.
Yes.
Yeah.
So my first name is not Mia. Mia
Oh,
is how I simplified it when I moved to the US because people couldn't pronounce my first name. You're
I'm o-
already stressed.
I'm overwhelmed.
It's Umnia, Oumnia.
Umnia.
Yep, that's perfect pronunciation. And it stands for hope in Arabic.
Oh shit.
Okay.
Okay.
So it's like cool, like people pronounce it and they're like, okay, cool. And then I like 15 minutes later, they're like, what was it again?
Yeah.
So I
Umnia.
was like, yes, Umnia, M and N. Yes.
Umnia.
Yep. So
Okay.
then I just switched it to Mia. And my main reasoning for that is I used to go to a lot of and still do networking events.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just easier for people to remember a simpler name, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So it just stuck, I guess.
Okay. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, let's get started. So we kind of got connected through Shwetha, Shwetha,
Hmm.
Shwetha.
Yes.
I really try to
Just
pronounce
say
people's names
Shui.
correct.
Shui.
Just Shway. All right.
Just Shui.
But that's how we first got connected. And
Yes.
let's just talk a little bit about kind of you, who you are, and then how you got into fitness and things like that, and like how you've built like this little community for yourself. And then we'll go from there.
Okay, cool. So I mean, I struggle with this question just because I really do think I am a faceted person. There's so much to me, and I try not to label myself in one category or another. But
No, I
I'm
understand.
going to, yeah, I'll just kind of,
Yeah, no.
so originally from Morocco, born and raised there. I moved here about 12 years ago. Um, and I feel like one of the most blessed people because I get to carry like Moroccan principles, but I'm very westernized.
Mhm.
So it's like a hybrid that I value. And so I'm currently working in education sales. I suppose that's the best way to put it.
Mhm.
Higher ed sales. I am a product head at a graduate school here in Boston. And then fitness has kind of always been my side passion. I started getting into fitness here in the US back in 2013. And I kind of never looked back. I was introduced to this gym TPS in Malden. That's kind of one of those like hardcore powerlifting, Olympic lifting gyms with like no mirrors and duct tape on the benches. And
The good
I
stuff.
feel like, yeah, that's what I needed. And it was just like hard rock, just like blasting in the speakers and like chalk everywhere. And if you see me, you would never think I would fit into that. But I loved that there were no distractions there and you get in, put in the work and leave. And I think at that point in my life, that's what I needed. So I started off there. I got very curious about fitness. I competed in the bikini class for bodybuilding. I did a little bit of like strongman for fun with my friends, some powerlifting, and just navigated where I fit in. And as of right now, I run my own virtual HIIT classes 3 times a week. And I'm just like a hybrid of HIIT workouts, but I also do my bodybuilding and some heavy lifting for the ego here and there.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, it's my therapy. It's my biggest passion, and it's the one thing that I'm extremely, or one of the many things that I'm extremely grateful to have in my life, I guess, in short.
No, that works. That works. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like I would love to just hear a little bit to begin with, like more of where you grew up, like in Morocco, and like if fitness is kind of like a thing there, or maybe even a little bit about like the food and atmosphere there versus
Yeah.
coming here and how the environments kind of like differ.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that. So, growing up in Morocco, Morocco is a third world country. And although we are heavily influenced by Europe because it's right, it's north of Morocco, We still are stuck in our ways to a certain extent. And I grew up an athlete. I played soccer, volleyball, track, and did all of that. But it's only in school, right? At the time when I was growing up in Morocco, gyms were mainly for men. And
Okay.
to this day, there's a very small number of co-ed gyms in Morocco, and it's just
Oh.
starting to become a thing. So back in the day, there were like basement gyms, and it was not something that people did, right? If
Okay.
fitness was not spoken about, it wasn't promoted.
Hmm.
And so I remember as I started to get a little older, my mom had a gym membership at this like all female gym, and I'd go with her here and there, but what I'd see is mainly like women, just that was their social hour, right? They'd just hang out and kick it. So that was kind of how the gym or fitness industry was when I was leaving the US, I'm sorry, leaving Morocco. And we never really put a lot of weight on you have to work out or you have to stay fit, you have to walk. We eat everything with bread in Morocco.
Hmm.
The food is amazing, but I will say everything's farm to table, everything is fresh, everybody buys produce, like
Hmm.
nobody buys frozen food. You go to the market and everything is from that same day. So we're not unhealthy in Morocco. Everything is kind of we pay attention to what we cook, and we cook with love. And there's never any stigma around, don't eat that much, you're going to look like this, or, body image, or at least this is from my perception. That's the only thing I can speak to.
Hmm.
Um, so I remember, well, even though I was an athlete, I was a little insecure in my body. And I think it went beyond just how I looked physically. I think it was also just mentally, I lacked confidence and whatnot. So then I moved to the US when I was 17, and nobody warns you that when you change your environment, and even if you're not eating a lot or whatever it is, it's going to be a shock to your body, and you're
Hmm.
either going to lose a lot of weight, you're either going to gain a lot of weight. And that's kind of what happened to me. I think I doubled in size within the first 3 months, and I would literally just smell the milk and gain weight. It was insane. Everything has so many chemicals in it, and everything is processed. And and I didn't know that, coming to the US. So within the first 3 months, I was eating what I thought was, normal. I wasn't really working out or moving or anything. And I went back home, and I remember everybody was like, "Oh my God, Mia, what happened?" And I think it was in that moment that I'm like, "Oh shit,
Yeah.
what happened?" Um, so, went on with my life and kept losing confidence little by little, but never did anything about it. And then I remember I'd get like a commercial gym membership, and I'd go maybe like 3 times a month and literally walk on the treadmill for 15 minutes and leave, because I just was very discouraged, and I just almost was like, shit, like I'm falling down this hole. I don't think I can carry myself up. And it's weird to say that now because I have the complete opposite mindset. So when a friend of mine suggested this gym, this, powerlifting gym, that's why I said I needed somewhere with no distractions. I needed somewhere where I was going to be challenged, and nobody was going to let me be the victim of my own life and be like, boo, like this is what's
Hmm.
happening to you. It's like, you can still change. You're young, you got this. And that's exactly what I got. The owner of the gym and my coach at the time, Murph, had such a hardcore, he did not care if his words hurt you, but he
Hmm.
was such a sweet guy. And I think that's exactly what I needed. And I really have him to thank big time for where I am today.
Damn. Yeah. So when you had first started even just going in the gym when you were like a little bit less confident than where you are now, was it that external atmosphere? Was that the biggest thing, or was it more of like an internal thing?
It's always been, for me, it's always been internal. I'm not going to say I never cared what people thought. I definitely did. I think
Hmm.
anyone would be lying to say they never did at a certain point. But I think I really played the, oh, I don't care how I look
Mm.
role really well. But I was lying to myself at the end of the day, because I couldn't wear anything I wanted and feel good in it. I couldn't,
Mm.
walk down the street with my head high. So it
Mhm.
was definitely a combination of, wanting to kind of get that power back within myself, but
Mhm.
also almost wanting people to be like, oh, damn, like you look good. And
Yeah.
I wasn't getting that.
Okay.
Um, so I guess it was a little bit of both.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. So I also wanted to just touch on when you had first kind of moved here and it was kind of like an environment shock for like food wise. What were
Mhm.
you doing like then versus how do you handle things now? Because it's not like the food's really changed, but your body has definitely changed. So what are some of like the things that you started to implement that was like, okay, I need to do something different?
Woof. I mean, that's a long list. We're talking about 12 years ago. Well, for starters, I have to say I lived in Sharon in
Okay.
Massachusetts, and you need a car, right, to get
Hmm.
around or do anything. Let's say I even was motivated enough to get a gym membership. I was not going to get a car because I was only going to live in Sharon for 1 year. I did my senior year there. And then I moved into the city to go to college. So, I was not working out. Like, I tried to go for jogs here and there,
Hmm.
but my conditioning, and it sucked. It was terrible. I would literally run 3 minutes and be like, well, I'm done for the day. And also the eating, I somehow believed that if I went longer periods without eating, not that I would starve myself, not at all, but I believed that, okay, like at least that's going to balance me out. So I would have like cereal for breakfast with whole milk, and I wouldn't eat until 3 p.m. when I'd get back from school. And it would be like a frozen pizza or something. It was
Yeah.
convenience, right?
Okay.
And I lived with so I was 17. My parents were still in Morocco, and I
Hmm.
lived with my parents' best friends because I needed a legal guardian
Hmm.
for that 1 year that I was a senior. And they had two boys, and you know how boys eat. Boys in high school, it's just like,
Yep.
are we gonna eat chicken wings, pizza?
Yeah.
And I'm a person that likes to blend in. I'm not difficult, right?
Mhm.
So I wasn't going to be like, well, I would like a chopped salad with olive oil and balsamic vinegar.
Yeah.
I was just eating whatever was available, and then of course, when you'd go out with your friends in high school, you're going to Panera and like things that are not
Yeah.
necessarily healthy, right?
Yeah.
So I never really cared about that or looked at that. And whenever I had free time, it was never like, what can I do to better myself?
Mm.
It was just like wanting to discover new things within the US, which that I don't blame myself for. I was moving to a new country,
Yeah.
and I wanted to adapt. Whereas now I am intentional about absolutely every single thing I do. And having transitioned through being really strict with myself and, overworking out and doing 2 a days and not eating this or that, now I'm in a very balanced place where I love food. I absolutely love food. And I get to enjoy, food, but also in a balanced way, and while also working out and working on my body and learning what my body needs. So,
Okay.
for instance, to this day, I do these mindset challenges, and I mention this to all my friends. They're probably tired of hearing it, but I believe like attachment is the base of suffrage, right? So I don't like to feel like I'm attached to anything. So
Hmm.
anytime I feel like I'm relying heavily on anything, whether that be, a food or a habit, I will go cold turkey and not do it for a month,
Hmm.
just to prove to myself that I can be fine without it. So this year, I promised myself that I would do that every single month. So January, I gave up social media.
Hmm.
We can all sit here and be like, I don't care about social media. I'm not on it enough.
Hmm.
Our screen time's ridiculous. So
Mm.
I gave that up for January. February, I gave up snacking. I love
Okay.
to snack. Love to snack.
Yeah.
So giving that up, and I always say, like, it's not meant to be easy, you know.
Hmm.
And then this month, I'm giving up processed sugars. I have such a sweet tooth; it's crazy. And I look at this more so like I'm not punishing myself. I'm just
Yeah.
testing my mindset while still getting to enjoy everything else.
That's really interesting. I've never like heard of something like that, like as in a challenge of some sort. How long have you been doing this? Like, is this just
So
a this
I've
year thing or
No, no, no. I've
just
done it.
yeah.
I would do it like for 1 month in a year,
Yep.
and go cold turkey. But this year I wanted to do something every single month,
Huh.
just to be like super intentional about it. So, but I'm the kind of person too, like I would wake up one day and be like, okay, I'm not going to eat bread this month. I
Yeah.
don't have to prepare. I can just wake up and be intentional. When I
Okay.
watched, there's this documentary, I keep forgetting what it's called, on Netflix about vegan athletes.
Okay.
I watched that and I woke up and I was like, cool, I'm not going to go plant-based, but I'm going to go vegetarian
Okay.
for as long as I can and see how
Yeah.
that works. Because if these are athletes who also love doing what I do and can survive on this, why can't
Hmm.
I? So I
Yeah.
did that for 3 months and it was amazing.
I
So
did
it's a little
vegetarian. Yeah.
challenging.
I've done
It's
vegetarian and
interesting.
it's interesting. I
Do
did it
you
for
eat
like
a lot of chicken and meat?
at this point, yeah. Like
Okay,
I
so it's a
like
bit
I
hard.
like it so I was in school at the time. And I was doing it with my sister and my girlfriend at the time. So the three
Mhm.
of us were kind of like doing it together. So we had like a little support system. And that made it much easier. But
Mhm.
like even just it made it easier since I was like living at school
Right.
because there were just so many options. So it really wasn't that bad. But then like once I became reintroduced to meat, like after that 6 months or so, I was like, oh my God, where's this been all my life?
You're like,
Like
it's
this
a
is
wrap.
yeah, like I'm never doing that again. Like it my
Um,
digestion was all like fucked up like that first couple days getting back into it for sure. Um,
right.
but yeah,
That's
like
I will say that's really I give you major props for doing it in college because I
mhm,
feel like in college it's all about convenience, right? And
mm,
if there is something available, you're gonna eat it. So to
yeah,
go out of your way to find vegetarian options is
yeah.
amazing.
I don't
So
know if we did. I don't even know the exact reasoning behind why we had done it at that point. But yeah, we had just done it as like kind of like a personal challenge, almost
right.
like you do.
Mhm.
But I want to stay on this because this is like really interesting to me. Okay.
Okay.
Um, so like with an attachment type um style, I want to say style, but that's not the right word for it. Is it just like more objects, or does this like and you don't have to like if this is like too personal or things like that, does this like include like people? Like in terms of, hey, you know what, maybe this friend isn't serving me right now, you know? Um will you find it like for maybe you personally, or maybe even just like a thought of, okay, this person isn't really serving me right now, let me take like a cold turkey break from them for like a month, you know? Like I'm very
No, I
curious
love
about
it.
this, you know?
I think your questions are amazing. And as I mentioned prior, I'm an open book, so I'm happy to talk
Hmm.
about it, overall. But yeah, the attachment goes for everything and
Mm,
everyone and your life in general, right? And I think I would rephrase or I would explain what you're asking. And one of the biggest assets I find in myself is I am genuinely interested in meeting people because I
mm,
truly think that you can learn something from anyone.
mm-hmm,
I love deep conversations. I don't like small talk. I don't like
mm-hmm,
surface stuff. And I like depth and I love, building friendships. I do believe in outgrowing them.
mm,
And I do believe in getting to a point where you're like, this does not serve me anymore.
mm-hmm,
But would I kind of stop talking or seeing that person cold turkey? I would not
mm-hmm.
approach it that way because
Okay.
humans are, they have emotions and they're not
Yeah.
disposable objects. But
Mm-hmm,
I'm a very confrontational person, not in an attacking way, but more so I feel like everybody deserves the right to know how you feel about them or what you think about something. And because if you suppress these emotions you become passive aggressive and there's other consequences to it. So I have been in situations where I've outgrown people and I
mm-hmm,
was like, look, this is just not serving me right now for XYZ
mm-hmm.
reason.
Yeah.
Now I never was one to get too attached or too
Mm-hmm,
clingy, whether it be to a friendship or a romantic relationship.
mm-hmm,
um like I was talking about before this call, I do enjoy doing things with people and creating memories and I'm an extrovert at heart.
mm-hmm,
But I do check myself
mm,
sometimes and I'm like, let's say I wanted to go on this trip and none of my friends are available to do it. Am I able to go alone? And the answer is 100% yes. To
yeah.
this day, I take myself out on dates and I will sit at a table alone and
Mm-hmm,
have a three-course meal. I will go on a trip.
mm-hmm,
I can do it all alone. And so I challenge myself to do that again, to remind myself that I'm not
mm,
attached to anyone or anything. And really the base of this is if tomorrow I wake up and the foods I like or the people I love or all of that is not available to me, will I still be able to survive? And I know this is
mm-hmm.
hardcore to
No,
think
no,
about,
I am loving this. Like this is
but
yes.
that's how
Keep
I see
going,
things.
please. I do
Yeah,
not let
that's
me stop you.
truly that's how I see things. It's like you cannot depend on anything or anyone, and this is not in a malicious way, but like
Yeah, no.
you have to be self-sufficient and just be able to survive in any condition. And that's kind of been my outlook. So
Mhm,
I do that. It's easier to think, to make a list of like all of the things you rely on or do a lot of, or sometimes we don't know it, and it could be habits, right?
mhm,
um that you can just be like, this month I'm not going to do this or that. But that goes for people too. When you
Hmm.
outgrow someone, don't let them anchor you down. You kind of just have to keep it pushing. Because my biggest fear is not living up to my full potential. And having people in your life that can block that will definitely stop you from living up to your full potential.
Hmm. I have there's so many ways that I could go with this. Like we could talk all day. But anyways, um, so one, do you know Gary Vaynerchuk?
I do.
Okay, you are literally a female Gary. Okay, like I can
I
just feel the vibration.
Oh my God, Sean,
Okay.
can I just tell you? I think that is the best compliment I've ever received. And I am not
I'm
exaggerating.
I'm like thinking, I'm like, this is Gary. This is
Oh
Gary
my
right here. Like
God.
as if you're like,
Thank you. I love
um,
Gary Vee.
so let me ask you now, has this been a mindset or like a embodiment that you've always had? Is this something that's been learned? Like, was there a turning point? Was there a switch, or was this more of a dimmer?
I was definitely not always like this. If you I was gonna say if you knew me 6 years ago, but I mean shit, I'd say 2 years ago.
Mm,
I was a completely different person. And I think that the person I was before, I mean, I got bullied in high school, and I wasn't always confident, and there's so many things to it. And I think while I was growing up, I made a pact with myself to be the opposite of all of the things that I was when I was younger, to be able to stand up to myself and be like, um, to be the exact opposite of like the people that brought me down, right? I wanted to be a good force, a good impact, an empower, a motivating person, because you remember those people who impacted you positively,
mm,
and I always wanted to be that, and just gain confidence and be like a source of knowledge and learn. And I think learning is the sexiest thing in the world. I would never want to stop learning.
mhm,
So I think with time, you go through things, you mess up, you have different personality traits. And I think really my turning point was the pandemic.
mm,
And a lot of people see the pandemic as such a negative thing, but for me, it was such a blessing and a curse. And I got into a lot of positive habits, one of which is I started reading.
mhm,
And I am a bookworm at heart. I actually started a book club. I started reading, I listened to podcasts, Gary Vee's being one of them.
mhm,
And I'm always seeking knowledge, but from people who have opposite beliefs and opinions to me, because I like to be
mm,
challenged, and not in the sense that challenge me so we can argue, challenge me so you
mhm.
can teach me something new, because
Yeah.
we're only exposed to what we're exposed to. And our mind is, a small, tiny portion of it works. And if we
Mhm,
want to always keep it working, you have to seek like different people in different areas of the world. There's just so many ways to keep exercising your mind. And so obviously it's easy to start reading and listening to podcasts and stuff and just gloss over it and put it down and not apply it in your life. But really you start seeing change when you take what you learn and put it into practice. And it's not always easy. And one thing that helped me with that a lot is therapy. Now,
mm,
I will make a point to say that in Morocco, therapy was never a thing growing up. Like mental
mhm,
health was never a conversation. Um, and I'm very blessed and grateful to say that I have an amazing supportive family. And there was never a moment when I was young that I was like, oh, like I feel this way, and they
mhm,
suppressed it. But I know for a fact that that was just never a conversation for people in Morocco. Mental health, you never talk about it. And it's a blessing and a curse, because you grow up tough minded,
mhm,
but you also are suppressing things, right? So throughout my time here, in the US, anxiety and depression is like such a big thing. And I didn't know anything about it until I moved here. And a lot of my friends had therapists. And I always was like, I don't really have issues. I don't have problems. I don't think I need to talk to one. But then right like in the middle of the pandemic, I was like, you know what? It won't hurt to get an unbiased opinion. It's like having someone to vent to who does not know anything about you.
mhm,
And that was the best decision I ever made, because it's mainly a monologue of me figuring shit out while I'm
mhm.
talking to her and being like, oh my God, light bulb moment, and holding myself accountable and making sure that everything I'm learning, I'm applying in my life. So I'm sorry, that's like a long answer, but that's kind of
There's there is
like,
so much that I am resonating with. No, I understand. Like I have like five different thoughts that I want to talk about, but
I love
I have to put them
it.
into one. No, I'm so glad you brought up therapy. I'm a huge therapy advocate. People on the podcast know I go to therapy. My boy Kyle, um, is so I think I found my therapist right around almost like a similar time, like almost around like that COVID type time. He's some dude from Australia and he's fucking awesome.
Wow.
Um, but where was I going with the first thing? Okay, this is the biggest thing that I had taken away beforehand. Um, it's a lot about changing perspective is what I definitely got from you and challenging your own thoughts, ideas, and beliefs. I would love to hear like a belief or a thought or something that you had, yeah, just like a previous belief that you had challenged that
Mhm.
maybe you changed or didn't change. What was one of like the biggest beliefs that you personally had that you had challenged?
That vulnerable people are weak. I
Mm,
mean, off the top of my
mm.
head, I will say
Okay.
this loud and
Well,
clear.
yeah, that's the
So
first thing that comes. That roll with it. Roll with it,
so
please. Please.
I mean I come from an Arab country where men are so macho, and you're
Mm-hmm.
like the men in my life, and they take care of you and they're your protective force, and you've never like, I think I've seen my dad cry once in my entire life, and it was two tears.
Mm-hmm.
So you grow up thinking that that's how men should be, and of course this also makes me look at men in these countries and be like, oh my god, I'm so sorry you're conditioned to not feel your feelings and speak up about them because you're a man.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I moved here, and I would, date and stuff, I was like, I don't want someone emotional. Like, if I see you cry, that's a turn off. If you talk to me about your feelings, what are we even doing? It's just like you have to be a man and you have to just
Mm-hmm.
want to be there to protect me. And like that was my idea of what a partner would be for me. And
Mm-hmm.
so as you go through situations and you learn and you encounter that and it doesn't work for you, and you find someone who's macho and you're like, it's still not clicking.
Mm,
And I think finally in the past couple of years I realized that because I'm so direct and I like to confront a situation and talk about it, and I was seeking people who did not talk about their emotions, I was getting
mm,
frustrated, but it was all my fault because
mhm,
I'm looking for someone who's not emotionally available and doesn't talk about them and is not even emotionally intelligent, but I
mhm,
am asking you to have these conversations with me. So it just
mhm,
wasn't adding up. And so in turn, I was never a vulnerable person because I saw it as weakness. And how do you
mhm,
expect someone to open up to you if you're not opening up to them? That's very hypocritical. You
mm,
cannot do that. So with time and reading and therapy especially,
mhm,
I learned that I was building a wall around me for no specific reason. And people would
mm,
ask me, and they were like, were you hurt? Were you ever heartbroken? Did something
mhm,
happen? Never. I'm so lucky to say nothing has ever happened that made me put up that wall, but I
mhm,
also never wanted to be perceived as weak, right? I
mm,
want to be this like tough person, and God forbid I tell you how I really feel, or
mm,
then you're going to think I'm weak, and that we're not having that.
mhm,
So now what I do is I'm just very honest about my feelings. I show hardcore gratitude and appreciation,
mm,
not only to people in my life who do the smallest things and they don't know what they're doing to impact me, but also for like the smallest things. I'm grateful for waking up every day. I'm grateful to have my bed and a warm bed to sleep in. I'm grateful for my job that I love. And when you start with small things like having a gratitude journal, and
mhm,
then I will randomly reach out to my friends and just be like, I just want you to know that I appreciate your presence in my life.
mm,
That starts to show you that vulnerability actually makes other people open up, right? And that's
mhm,
what I've always wanted, but didn't know how to do it. But it all comes back to me,
mm.
you know?
There's I understand. This is one of my favorite podcasts ever. Like this
Oh
is
my God, I'm
this
flattered.
no. I really appreciate you just opening up with everything that you've already said. Um, there's it's hard for us to sometimes kind of take um like not self-assurance, like self-responsibility in a way of, you know what, I'm actually doing this myself. And it's
Mhm.
hard to kind of view ourselves as, almost a little bit of like tough love with ourselves.
Yep.
um I know that we had also started this podcast and we were like, oh, we're going to talk about this, this, and this. And it has turned into this entire ordeal. I want to bring it a little. bring it back just a little bit. We've gotten super deep with a bunch of things. Again, I could go on for hours here, or I could just listen to you talk for hours. I don't know. I don't know. But anyways, I also wanted to talk about this community of women that you have built, and kind of just how it really got started, where it is now, and like the biggest impact that you feel either you have made on like other people's lives, or how these women have also impacted you. Like you can kind of a little open ended there.
Yeah, no, I love that. The community I built is like my joy and pride. And just to kind of backtrack to how it started,
Mhm.
when the pandemic hit in March of 2020, I was in Morocco for what was going to be a 10-day vacation. And I ended up getting stuck there for four
Mm.
months. And again, blessing, major blessing, because I would never be able to take 4 months off work and be home. So that's kind of around the time. So I'll also preface this by saying that I used to teach a class at my job. We have a gym at my job, and so
Okay.
I was already a certified instructor, and I knew that I loved doing it. So then that was also around the time that the unfortunate George Floyd event happened, and I wanted to do a fundraiser. I just wanted to do what I could from, Morocco. So I wanted to hold a fundraiser where I was going to teach a class and people could donate, and all the funds would be donated to, at the time, I donated them to this foundation that offers therapy to Black girls and women.
Mhm.
And so I taught this class, and it was so vibrant and amazing and fun. And, yes, it's partially my teaching style, but it's also like the energy that people bring. And HIIT workouts are fun, they're quick, you get energy, it's the endorphins. And then my friends were like, why are you not doing this as a thing? Like, everybody's stuck at home and everybody wants to do something to distract themselves but stay healthy. Like, you should do this. And I'm so, so, so grateful. And I'm going to shout out Sarah and Amelia. I'm so grateful for friends who push you to do things that you did not think you'd be
Mm.
capable or interested in doing. And they just pushed it, and they were like, you will be successful. Just try it. Just try it. And I started it while I was in Morocco with really shitty internet connection and a crazy time zone difference. I started teaching 3 days a week, and it started off with like a core group of friends who
Mhm.
were into fitness and just wanted to try it. And then it became a word of mouth thing. And just little by little, it would be like my friend who, my friend's friend, my coworker, this and that. And I started a WhatsApp group chat
Mhm.
because I wanted it to be more than just meeting 3 times a week and working out. I wanted us to like hold each other accountable and encourage each other. And, maybe you don't want to wake up at 8 a.m. one day, but somebody's going to be like, come on, you got this. Like, we're going to crush this together. And
Mhm.
that just gives you that much motivation. And just slowly but surely, these relationships became friendships. And these are people I see 3 days a week. And that's more than I see some of my really good friends. So
Mhm.
it just becomes a bond. And I know that I have a knack for getting like-minded people together.
Mhm.
I will toot my horn when it comes to that. I can build a community, and I'm a very
Mhm.
inclusive person. And so this just slowly started growing, and then it would be like, hey guys, like, I'm traveling here, does anybody have tips? And somebody would be like, yes, like blah blah blah. Or like, hey, I'm making this recipe, or I'm giving this away, who wants it? So we're all really good friends. I 100% can say we're good friends, and we started meeting up in person and like doing social things in person. And they motivate me 200% of the time because they are such positive forces and they show up. One of them
Mhm.
is 4.5 months. She's 5 months pregnant right now, and she
Mhm.
hasn't missed a single workout.
Oh my god.
And like, if that doesn't speak for itself, um, they're really committed to it. They show up, they're positive, and they're constantly telling me how empowering I am to them. And that motivates me to be an even better person. So it's just so much positivity. And I think that for anybody who does struggle to work out, if that's something you're interested in, join a community. That makes
Mm.
all the difference. A hundred
Okay.
percent all the difference.
It does. It's the I've talked a lot about community on the podcast and how important it is, how impactful it is, especially what you've brought up just about the accountability factor. I want to
Mhm.
go one of two ways with this. You can kind of choose the direction that you want to go. I want to know either like you can tell just from your presence and especially this community that you have built, your leadership and whether this has been again something that was learned or whether this is more of like a I was born with this. I would love to either hear about that, but I also want to know where this goes. Like what is the goal like of this community? But what where do you want to bring it now 5 years, 10 years from now? I don't know if you've even thought about things like that or but I wanna challenge you a little bit too, like,
No, I
I'm
love
really
it.
interested, you
I
know?
love it. That's why we're here. Remember, Shawn, I love being
Yes,
challenged.
yes.
No, I'm so grateful you asked. I love the leadership question too, but I think I want to answer this one because this one has a little more uncertainty and I want to
Mhm,
tap into things I haven't thought about. So time and time again, I will get again, my cheerleader friends would be like, Mia, like you can do this, you can do this, you can start a clothing line, you can, but I think I mentioned this to you briefly in a previous conversation. The fitness world, there's so much supply. There's so much supply. There's trainers, gyms, like you name it, it exists right now. And I don't want to do something where I'm just, another regular schmegular trainer on the internet or in person. I want to do something different. Right now, I am not currently, really investing my time in trying to see where that could go because I am wrapping up my executive MBA that I finish in August. And I'm also climbing up the ladder in my job and I really like it. Now, in the future, I would love to combine. I currently, like I said, I'm in sales and I thrive on relationship building. So I want to combine that with something fitness related. What that's going to look like, I have no idea. So I don't know. I haven't really put thought into what's next for the Body by Mia. We call it the Mia
mhm.
Ben sorority. I haven't really put thought into what's next for that. Well, at first they were like the Mia Ben cult, and I'm like, oh, I don't know how I
That's
feel
too
about
much.
that. The
Yep.
sorority is better.
Mhm,
But I mean, I do challenges like twice a year where we do like, so I try to take on different formats and do fun activities for the girls besides just like
mhm,
the workouts 3 days a week. We'll do like in-person workouts at different locations. We'll do giveaways. We'll do social events. So, I mean, I'm a very, very strong believer in what's meant for me is not going to miss me. And I
mhm,
will attract that, opportunity that
mhm,
is going to be the next big thing. I will not force it. So right now things are perfect. And I have such a great balance between my fitness life and my work life and my academic life.
mhm.
Um, but I know it's going to be something big. I just don't know what it is quite yet.
Okay. Wow. You know, I'm already having visions of it, of like I'm seeing retreats.
Yes.
I'm seeing like, okay,
Yes. That's actually,
I
yep.
have
That's
my
actually something I
therapy
thought about too.
I have my therapy staff that is that's on board
Shawn,
like
you believe in me so much and I love it. I'm going to invite you for free. I'll comp your ticket.
yes, me and the ladies. That's it. You know, I'm one.
I
So
got you.
but yeah, no, I was just curious about like if you had like a vision of where you want it to go or if you were just riding where it is now. Like I definitely can tell that you want it to be bigger, but it's just not something where the energy is going into it right now, which is okay. I
Right.
was just curious.
Right.
Um,
Absolutely.
but yeah, let's backtrack just to the previous question of leadership and whether that was more of a born trait or if that was something that you kind of grew into, how that kind of started, and whether you had like self doubts about it or whether it was like, oh, am I like almost a little bit of that imposter syndrome of, oh, who's going to listen to me? You know, I'm not sure if
Uh,
you had went through something like that or.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely I love that question. I was not born with it. Um, Again, it's because I'm so grateful for my family. I have an incredible family and they've always supported everything. I have everything and anything I've wanted to do growing up, but I will very openly say that now that I look back at it, back in high school and middle school, I was more of a follower.
Mhm,
I was never the person to kind of like put my foot down and be like, the queen bee that everybody follows. I was definitely the follower. And as I mentioned, I think as I was growing up, I would look back at all the experiences I had in my life and I saw the positive forces, and I've always wanted to be one of them. So I think the more I started to work on myself, the more I realized, I really don't care what people think about me
mhm,
because, your perception of me is a reflection of yourself. That has absolutely nothing
mhm,
to do with me, and that's not my weight to carry. B, I want to empower and motivate people and just make an impact. And I know I do that because when I meet people, I genuinely am interested in you as a person. It's never transactional. I'm
Mm,
not getting to know you because I want something from you. It's
mhm,
just because I'm interested in what makes you you.
mm,
And then I just want to give back as much as I can because I really do believe in, the universe. I attract abundance and I attract,
mhm,
so much love and wealth. And I want to give it back because I believe like as I'm giving it back, I continue to get more of it. So I think
mhm.
while I'm standing in my power, and oh my God, I sound like a therapist right now,
No,
but
no,
like
just keep going,
while I'm very
please.
like authentic to myself and I know who I am and what I want, and this has taken a lot of time and a lot of practice and a lot of doubt at times, but I am at a point where I'm like, this is who I am. And I think
Mm,
people are attracted to that, where they're like, okay, well, you seem very confident and you seem like you have it together. What worked for you? And so I think naturally that just makes me and I do feel like I am a leader, and I can
mhm,
tell I am an alpha female, and I'm kind of like, this is how I'm going to do things.
mm,
um and this, because this is how I believe what's going to work for me. I'm not easily kind of like stirred this way or this way by other people's opinions. And so I think it's something that you never think about it. You're never like, oh, I'm a leader, until you see that all of the characteristics you have and all of the things you do have naturally made you this person. So I was not always this person. This is, after a lot of work on myself.
mm. Yeah,
And I'm really grateful for it.
no, it's a, I don't want to say it's, oh, a good answer or a good story, but like, no, you can tell that you're multifaceted in that aspect. Um and just like, you brought up just a lot of good points where I almost, if I was to cover this in like one broad statement, it's, if you're not true to yourself, you're going to attract the wrong people. You have kind of figured out who you are, and now if you're gonna attract someone into your circle, it's gonna be the right person, as
Right.
opposed to kinda faking it per se, and
Mhm.
then going and trying to attract someone else. They're
Right.
not that right person for your circle, you
Of
know?
course. And I mean, honestly, even after all this work, sometimes I have to check myself because
Mm,
sometimes we find ourselves pretending to be someone to attract someone else. And this
mhm,
could be in terms of your community or, relationships or friendships. And then
mhm,
I sit back and I'm like, do I really want to be someone I'm not, to attract someone that I'm probably not even interested in,
mhm,
having a conversation or sharing anything with?
mhm,
Because, obviously, when you are true to yourself, you naturally attract people who are similar to you and who are going to be beneficial for you. And sometimes we think we want something that's not for us. And
mhm,
there's a saying that I love that's like, it could be between, like, it could be on the palm of your hand and still not written for you. And
mm,
so that's why I truly don't believe in forcing anything. Like,
mm,
if I had a motto in life, is if it comes, let it. And if it goes, let
mhm. Wow, okay. Words to
it.
live by. That's it. End of
Yes.
podcast. That's it. So,
Drops Mike.
that's it. But no. So to kind of come full circle here, because let's wrap up soon. I don't want to overdo this episode. I feel like we took a ton into your journey and into your like just personal growth and how that's transpired. And this was going to be very, very impactful for a lot of other people. So just from everything, like combining everything that you've kind of gone through and shared, um, with me, and with us. So anything that you want to kind of leave anyone with who may have been in a similar situation of you that you are, or maybe not just like a similar situation, but maybe going through feelings of self-doubt, or maybe someone that's not sure how to kind of start to work on themselves. Maybe that first step, how can we help someone push them towards that first step?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, similar to you, I preach therapy first and
Mm,
foremost. As someone who never, ever, ever considered it, ever,
mhm,
it has been such a helpful factor. So if people are open to that, I definitely recommend it. It brings out a
mm,
side of you. The more you know about yourself, the more you can better yourself, right?
mm,
And then just like always putting yourself first. I think there's such a negative connotation with that, where people are like, well, you're selfish, but not really, because you cannot pour from an empty cup.
mhm,
So I think that you have to be very true to yourself and be like, why do I have these doubts? Like you have to get to the core of it. And that honesty is going to get you extremely uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
But when you sit in that discomfort is when beautiful things come out.
Mm,
So once you get down to the core of, why is it that this is happening or that is happening, and then working on those things one by one, it's not going to be an overnight remedy. But
mm,
I'm also a strong believer in easy come, easy go, right? The longer you work on something, the more it's there to stay.
mm-hmm.
So absolutely put yourself first and surround yourself with people who actually make you feel good, and people who, hold you accountable and are your biggest cheerleaders, but also check you when necessary. Do
Mm,
not surround yourself with yes men, people who are just agreeing with everything you do, because you'll never get places. You need someone who checks you and
mm-hmm.
holds you accountable and makes you feel uncomfortable, but has your best interests at heart. So
Mm-hmm.
I think those are two of the most important things I would say.
Yeah. No, I really love all of it. The biggest thing, the biggest takeaway I wanna like show from that, selfish to me is not a bad word. Selfish to me, like you yourself, you did not get to where you are by not being selfish.
Yep.
Just like how we were talking about Joe Rogan earlier, Joe did not get to where he is by not being selfish. Selfish is just, it has this super negative connotation to it, and it's hard to get out of that, but we kind of need to put that selfishness kind of, hey, it's not bad. Like you should be doing things for yourself. You should be
Of
more
course.
true to yourself, things like that. So
Of course. I'm so glad you said that, John, because
mm,
it's very, very little people think that way.
mhm,
But if you think about it, like you will always have you're the person you spend the most time with.
mhm,
So why are you taking your energy and putting it, energy, love, whatever it is, pouring it into other people instead of putting it in yourself? And once you put it in yourself and you reach like a level of fulfillment, you'll be able to pour it into other people tenfold.
mhm,
So just kind of like, stop the clutter and all of that, focus on you, and then naturally you will be able to share that with people down the line.
mm. This this was a lot. This was awesome. I'm very appreciative of you coming on here today. Why don't you share with everyone where we can find you? I'll make sure I tag it in the show notes, things like that. But just a little um bit of where
Yeah.
how we can reach you, how we can join your community and start
Um,
going on retreats.
yes, you're comped. Remember that. Yeah, I'm on Instagram at Mia Ben,
Mhm,
MIABENN, and then my fitness page is at Body by Mia Ben.
mhm,
And anybody who is interested in joining my classes, just shoot me a DM. But truly, like I love talking to people and connecting with people. So this has been a phenomenal conversation, and thank you for creating a platform for people to kind of come and share their journeys. And if anyone is interested in just talking or kicking it or challenging opinions, I'm always down for that.
Yep, I'm gonna make a post at some point of 3 opinions that I have that hopefully people disagree with, and then just start not fights, but start having people challenge me on
I
those
love
beliefs.
that.
That's what I'm
I
gonna
love
do.
that. I
That's
love
that's
that.
my that's my challenge
I'll be in the
for the
comments
month
section.
for the month
I'll
of
be there.
March. Yep. So, all
I'll
right,
show up.
sweet. That's it for today.
Awesome.